Let's go, guys. It's Balls Deep Podcast number 1. Let's get to my favorite players. First is Quentin Nelson. He was picked 6th overall by the Indianapolis Colts, and this dude automatically upgrades the Colts offensive line as a whole, definitely giving Jacoby Brissett or Andrew Luck, if he comes back healthy, more time to throw, while opening up running lanes for new running back Marlon Mack as Mack tries to take over for departed running back Frank Gore. Let's see how he does. Nelson is projected by many, including myself, to have a 10-year NFL career while being an All-Pro for most of it. High praise for a guy who's never played in the NFL. He could be a storyline to watch. He definitely has some high expectations, but a big man with big expectations could be the all-star of the draft looking back. Next is quarterback Lamar Jackson, who was picked 32nd overall by the Baltimore Ravens. The thing that makes it interesting about his contract is because he was picked in the first round, he has that 5th-year option, so GM Ozzie Newsome locks up the quarterback of the future for an additional year. Props to Newsome, who will actually be stepping down at the end of this year, but he still set his team up in a good position. The question with Jackson is, can he be like Michael Vick, who definitely is an electric player, but had some off-field issues. That's not the case with Jackson. With Jackson, you'll find a guy who works hard on and off the field to improve himself, always goes all out on his teammates, and is the most electrifying player I have ever studied. Can he overtake Joe Flacco? I believe so. Let's see how that goes. Next up is Derrius Guice. He was picked 59th overall by the Redskins. The thing that makes it interesting about him is he was picked 59th overall. I didn't have him rated that much behind Saquon Barkley, who was picked 2nd overall. Now, Derrius Guice doesn't have the speed that Barkley does, but he is a tough-nosed runner who will definitely add value to the Redskins between the tackles and in goal line situations. Let's hope he gets on the field, clears up some of his immaturity issues he had at LSU, and let's watch him score a lot of touchdowns. He could be a good flex option for you in fantasy if you're going into those late rounds. Next is Nathan Shepard, a defensive tackle out of Fort Hays State. Now, Nathan Shepard was picked up by the Jets, and this dude, when he wasn't on the football field, was actually working as a bouncer. He actually met former NFL star and current GMFB star Nate Burleson. When talking to Burleson, he expressed his interest in wanting to play at the NFL. Burleson spotted him $100, saying, "I know you'll get there. Here's me proving it." He actually appeared on the GMFB show and gave the $100 back to Burleson. So we'll see if he lives up to the hype. Next up is Michael Gallup, a wide receiver out of Colorado State who was picked up by the Cowboys with the 81st overall pick. The thing that makes it interesting is the Cowboys need a wide receiver. Losing the catches of Dez Bryant and Jason Witten is a tall order, but this kid can definitely do it. He runs the complete route tree and gets great separation. He's not the fastest guy, but that does work well with Dak Prescott's ability to hit the intermediate and short throws. We'll see how he does. We'll see how he can compare to Dez Bryant as he tries to replace the former number 1 wide receiver. Let's see how it goes. Next up is Alex Kappa out of Humboldt State. He was picked up by the Buccaneers, and he projects as a tackle, but I see him more as a right guard. But he definitely could transform into a right tackle given the right opportunity. Some clips on this kid. He was, like the aforementioned Shepard, literally bouncing people out of a club. There were times he would throw defenders off their feet when they tried to rush him. He is definitely a strong player, but coming from a small school, you expect a prospect to dominate, getting drafted this high in the NFL. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if he lives up to the hype. But he definitely has some impressive highlights. Check it out, people. He is impressive. Next up is Shaquem Griffin, the one-handed linebacker out of University of Central Florida. One thing that makes Griffin interesting is he actually had to have one of his hands amputated due to amniotic band syndrome. Now, you don't see players missing a whole hand playing in the NFL. Griffin is one of the few exceptions. He is a linebacker who can play off the ball and definitely make a lot of tackles. Me and my brother actually witnessed him running his 4.38 40 at the combine. The dude has a lot of heart and a lot of athletic ability. I'd love to see what he does in that rebuilding Seattle defense. I'm pulling for you, Shaquem. Let's see you do it. Next up is actually a punter, J.K. Scott out of Alabama, who was picked up by the Packers. And most of you think, really, a punter? But this kid can change field position. When you have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, most of your possessions end in touchdowns or field goals. But on the few that don't, it's better to have your opponents go 80 yards than 50. J.K. Scott does that with booming kicks and high hang times. He definitely improves the Packers' special teams and makes them a better team as a whole. We'll see if he can give Aaron Rodgers help as he tries to capture his second Super Bowl ring. Next up is Deon Cain, wide receiver out of Clemson, who's again another Colts draft pick that I like. Cain is a fast, tall wide receiver who again is another weapon for Jacoby Brissett or Andrew Luck. While losing DeMonte Moncrief this offseason, the Colts are looking to replace some targets. Cain can replace them. He's a fast guy who all you have to do is throw up the ball, let him go get it, let him out-muscle a wide receiver, similar to what a Brandon Marshall type player can do, but he does have a more level head than the aforementioned Marshall. Let's see what he can do. Last but certainly not least is Bo Scarborough out of Alabama. He was picked up by the Cowboys, so he might not have as big of a role backing up Ezekiel Elliott and Rod Smith, but this kid can run it. He is a big, bruising back who can definitely get you 2 or 3 yards when needed. Expect him to climb up the depth chart and rival Rod Smith for the backup position. Expect him to come into the game when Ezekiel Elliott needs a blow or the Cowboys want to go into a 2-back set. Now, I don't expect him to get a ton of yards, so as a fantasy option, he won't be that good, but he could be fun to watch on the field, possibly getting a pass out in the flat or the occasional carry. Definitely someone to watch, as he could press on with his career in the league. We'll see how that goes. If you like this video, like and share. Definitely trying to get more consistent with these. Hopefully there isn't so much shaking in the next video, but I was really excited to make this. I hope you guys liked it. Let's continue on and make this a great podcast. Thank you.